World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Jana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
Happy Tuesday. Welcome to The Bold Show with me, your host, Marie Dunn. I am always excited to be in this space, regardless of how my day went. I look forward to Tuesday nights because Tuesday nights, it's a reminder of how powerful, how resilient, and how we can always bounce back. There are various stories of inspiration, stories that's going to move you. And also, we're here to give you tools to put into your toolboxes so you could become the best version of yourselves. Every Tuesday night, I have guests that comes on and they are talking and sharing their experience. But the beauty about it's that they've overcome. They're achievers. They are excellence, Black excellence. And tonight, I feel so honored and I feel so privileged to have our guest here tonight. But before I get into that, I want our viewers, I want to say thank you so much to you all. And thank you to Soul City Network for creating this space so we could have these dialogues. We could have these interactions. And it's a way to give back to community because that's the basis of who we are, being of service to others. So without further ado, I want to take this moment to introduce our lovely, extraordinary guest, Dr. Jana B. Woodhouse. But before she comes on the screen, well, she's coming anyway, right? This woman is a trailblazer. She's a powerhouse. And we are looking at Black excellence right here in our space tonight. Dr. Jana B. Woodhouse. She's an entrepreneur. She's a certified financial planner. She's a registered securities broker. I could go on and on and on and on. But I'm going to leave some for her to share. But there's something exciting I want to have the privilege to share with you folks. So, in 1983, Dr. Woodhouse became one of the first African, hear me out, the first African American woman to work on Wall Street as a full service broker. Dr. B. Woodhouse. I'm going to save the rest of the accolades for our conversation tonight. Welcome, and it is indeed a pleasure to have you on The Bold Show. Thank you.
Well, I am so thankful to be able to be on your show. I've been looking at it. I watch you. and I'm like, okay, when they gonna let me get on?
Timing is everything.
That's true. And so I'm so glad and honored to be on your show. I love the way you go bold. You get deep. So I'm ready.
Oh, you're ready to go deep with me tonight, Dr. B?
Yes, I'm ready to go.
But before we get into that, how was your day?
It was an interesting day. It was challenging. And sometimes, my dear friend Lloyd Strayhorn, who also has a show on the network, he does this evaluation of the month. And so I've gotten a kinship to it. And it didn't say it was going to be a challenging day, but it sure was.
Well, you know something, we are going to lift each other up because I too had a challenging day. But, back to what I said earlier, like we are such resilient and bold women that we know how to like push things aside, deal with it later. We compartmentalize. So here we are tonight, and we're going to impart some inspiration to all of our viewers to allow them, they could be a year. But
Yeah.
how can we get there, right? Because folks see the glory now, right? They see all of the accolades in this powerhouse of a woman that you've become. But it took sacrifice and practice and dedication. Why don't you tell the viewers who you are outside of all the roles and everything that you've achieved? Give us some insights.
I'm really, the best way to say it is, I'm Yana. And Yana means the beginning in Kiswahili. And that's why my business is Anaj Enterprises, because that's the end. But I'm Yana. I love people. I care. I'm very passionate about our community and getting on an even keel in this world. We haven't had a lot of the benefits that others have had, and it just came to me and my mother was so instrumental. My mother was a teacher down in the South. When she got to New York, she said, I'm not doing no teaching. She hit me for that one. But I really, I saw where we didn't get the same benefits as other communities. And it bothered me. Also, I came in this world with missions. And one of
Mm.
the missions had to deal with finance. My mother teasingly told me, she says, everybody else talking about ABCs. My child is doing dimes, nickels, quarters, and don't give her any pennies.
Okay.
I like to stack them, but that was that my world is coming into this world to make a difference, and especially in our community. I'm very passionate. There's no other word about it. Is that I love the fact that we can do so much, but with so little.
Mhm.
I never forget. I was watching Eyes on the Prize and with my mom, and they had the voting. People couldn't. She came from Mississippi, Vicksburg, Mississippi. My mom and my dad, and they didn't. I realized at a point in the show, it said, "Wait a minute, you couldn't vote." And she said, "Oh no." Mm-mm. And I said, "Hmm." And so I said, "Well, how did it? You really technically are children of the depression. So how did the depression affect you?" These are the things that were in my head that they went through. What did they go through? What were these shoulders that I stand on? What did they do? How did they get around? And it was kind of clear. She says, "Well, all I know is they put more water in the pot and you ate." And I think about that now is that I don't have a lot of excuses for not progressing. um, I believe in the culture. I believe in more so knowing the history and our ancestries. I had the beauty and the graciousness, and I give it to my cousin Eddie Scott in Chicago. He spent 15 years doing our family tree on the Woodhouse side. And then he was just so nice to do for my mother's side, the Johnsons. And when he did it, he also took us to the plantation that my great 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 grandmother Kitty served on. That plantation, was raped and had three children by John Woodhouse. And from there came Winfield, And from Winfield came Samuel, and from Samuel came Robert, who's my granddad. And I looked at that and I said, look what she went through. And she
Mm.
died on that plantation. And we went to that plantation. And when I went there, the year of our family reunion was about 4 years ago. I went there and poured libation and asked for the opportunity to buy that land back. Uh, and I went to the White House that they had, big White House, which wasn't a big White House, it was a little White House. And I knocked on the door and let them know I'm coming. Now, of course, my goal was to buy that plantation. It's still probably up for sale. I've been blocked a few times, but the idea to be able to, by the way, it was 40 acres. I just don't have a mule. but but I stand on those shoulders. I have no excuse, you know. So who is Yana? Yana is the embodiment of all of those individuals and the power of God coming through and expressing itself through me.
Mm.
That's who Yana is.
I want to take a moment of silence just to honor your past because I think that is powerful. And this is a reminder, like you said, we have no excuse. So let's just pause for a second. Hmm. Wow. I got goosebumps just listening to you just now. And for anyone that's watching right now, or for folks who will view this later, stop blocking your greatness. Our past does not dictate our next step. So, Dr. B, if you don't mind me calling you Dr.
No,
B
that's
throughout,
kind of cute.
that's okay. So, when you heard about your ancestry and the deep rooted pain, what was it like for you in that moment? What feelings came up for you and how did you manage that?
It was more of an affirmation.
Mhm.
Um, my dad, when I was 8 years old, left me with a message because I was really pissed at him because he wasn't taking us out and doing things with us. He was working all the time. And he told me, he said, he who writes the check is free. And whatever you want, whatever you need, you can have it because I'm making sure that I work to make that happen. So it was an affirmation for me when I guess when I got I didn't think I was ever going to really meet my family on that side, the Woodhouses, because my dad really was not the one to keep our history. And I remember my Uncle Ben telling me there was a family Bible and all this stuff. And I was like, I don't know where to start. Well, God would have it that my cousin, Lenora, who lives here in New York, she said, they're looking for you. I was like, who's looking for me? and, and she says, it's looking for you and your brothers. And, you know, and I was like, what are they looking for? She says, to close out the family history. And when I got there to Detroit to the family reunion, I lost my mind because I walked in the room and it was a greeting room, a family room. They were everybody meet and greet. And I remember them, a person came up to me and they said, hi, I'm Mark Woodhouse. Hi, I'm Michael Woodhouse. Hi, I'm Tom Woodhouse. And I was like, I thought we were the only Woodhouses. So when when they came at me and then something hit my spirit and something that said, just ask, how many people in this room are entrepreneurs? And I would say almost 90% of that room was full of entrepreneurs. It's in our DNA. So that was one of the affirmations to see that my history is there, the story, but it's who I came through. It's not all of who I am. You know, my journey has been a blessed one. I had a mother that, well, I have a mother because she's always with me, but Burma Woodhouse made it so that anything that I wanted to do and whatever I saw and what I thought needed to be done, she said, if you want to do it, go ahead. Just remember, cause and effect. Whatever you do has a cause and effect. But when I decided that I was young and I wanted, most kids want dolls and playhouse. I didn't want to play my house. And I was like, I want to play store. I want to play business. And
Mm.
so one day, I'll never forget, my mother passed by the room and I had all my dolls across the bed. And she's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm having my board meeting. And she said, what? I said, I'm having a board meeting. I said, I'm the chairman of the board and they have to do what I say.
How old are you then, if you don't mind me asking?
I was 7, but that's what was okay. It's not all due to being a genius or anything like that. It was because I was watching Bugs Bunny and it was Elmer J. Fudd. He was a millionaire and he owned a mansion and a yacht. I thought,
Thanks for that clarification.
I thought that was so cool. And he had a Rolls Royce. And I thought about it. I said, Mom, when I get older, I'm going to have a Rolls Royce and I'm going to have a driver named George. Okay, so my husband turned out to be George. But anyway, and I'm going to put curlers in my hair. And she's like, well, what's with the curlers? I said, because they're going to think it's not for, I don't own it. They're not going to be able to tell that it's me. But when I step, I own it. I made it. So that was what was in my spirit. And I had, it was interesting just to tell, because I love this bold setting. And I don't get to tell these stories too often, but I went through an Akashic record reading. And I didn't know what an Akashic record was. It's your soul reading, your journey. And one of my clients, I have wonderful clients, they don't give me, gifts that you look at and you say, okay, it was cute. No, they give me deep stuff. And so Tammy Lowe out there, she made it so that I had a gift of the Akashic records. And this woman did a reading, which was kind of interesting. And she said, I don't usually get people in doing the readings that, especially when they're African American, that they have in their past life been a slave. But you were. And not only were you a slave, but you took care of all the children on the plantation when their parents were sent away or taken away. And so I said, she says, and that's one of the reasons why you have no desire to have children, because you've taken care of hundreds. I was like, well, this is some deep stuff, but I can understand. So those are some of the things that I don't normally talk about, but I feel free to talk about the fact that that's what, I didn't have the desire. I didn't like the idea of playing house and taking care of kids. I wanted to build businesses. I wanted to change lives. I wanted to do something that I look back and fulfilled my mission here on earth that God put me here for. It's back in slavery time when the child was born, they used to look and say, are you the one? Are you the one that's going to make the difference? Are you going, they did it in Roots. And I went on a serious road to Damascus, I would say, when most people, when they go to college, during college, they pledge Greek fraternities and sororities. I didn't feel so Greek. And so I decided that I'd been studying with First World Alliance, and I learned a lot from Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Dr. Jeffries, Dr. Smalls. All of them came, Chancellor Williams. I had such an exposure. And that's what kept me sane during my years on Wall Street, was that I knew that I was there to make a difference. I needed to help my folks. So I went to, instead of pledging fraternity or a sorority, I went and did rites of passage in Ghana and got in. I won't tell anybody at the age of 21, that is not what you're supposed to do. It's lots of work, but, and plus I'm left-handed. So if anybody knows, culturally, left-handed is an issue when it comes down to talking to folks and cooking. But I went there to embody. I went to Egypt 3 times with Dr. Ben to touch the soil, to understand. The first time I went to Egypt, I lost my mind. The second time I was pretty good. I was okay. But when I went to Ghana, the first thing was learning the culture, learning the power of our day names, the names that we come into this world in. When did we decide to come in? The fact that we choose our parents, that we choose our mother, who we think we should come through. Sometimes we mess up. We don't get the right one. I got the right one. I got the one that said, okay, girl, do you. I'm there. So that's part and part some of my story of being here. Getting to Wall Street was, again, because I wanted to help my people. My Well, it goes all the way back to my high school years. I got to give accolades to Mr. Henderson, who was my high school teacher, who was the only Black teacher in this little tiny school called Bedford Park Academy in the Bronx. And the average class was a whopping 5 to 6 students. So you couldn't cheat. But I went to that school, and the graces of God, again, trying to help someone. Mr. Henderson was a typing teacher. I know a lot of y'all out there don't know what a typewriter look like.
Great.
We had a typing class, and he was upset because he had a tax office, and someone was messing it up. They were doing some bad things in the office, and I just asked, "Can I help?" And he said, are you good at math at anything? Okay, so math's my middle name. So it was like I had gotten the Regent Scholarship for math, and so I said, I think I'm pretty good with that. He says, well, come back after you graduate, that year. And I did go back to him, and I worked for him for 2 strong years, 2 years. And then I bought the business from him. So I was 19 years old when I owned my tax office. And again, having a mother that says, I said, I really want to do this. And she says, if you really want to, I will back you. And the reason why is that during that time, back in those days, you had to be 21 to sign a contract. I was 19. So she had to sort of sign for me. But that's the way I've headed. It's on God's path. Doors open. And we tell people all the time that opportunity knocks. But the key is not the knocking, it's the walking through the door and acting entrance. And I haven't just all my life, if the door open, I walk through. The reason why I wound up on Wall Street was because I wanted to help my folks who weren't getting help on their investments. It was a time in the 80s when interest rates were high. We had 14, 15% interest rates, but we also had a 50% tax bracket. People needed to keep more of their money. So I sent my clients out to do investments, and they'd come back and the people told them they didn't have enough. They could have $60,000, $70,000 and not enough. And so I went to find out why. And I found out why, because the average investor on Wall Street, even to this day, they look at, you need to have $100,000 income and at least $500,000 to invest. That's not our community. No. So it's always been a level of I want to help. And in the midst of it, I help
Got it.
myself.
Awesome. There's this quote I saw somewhere. I may butcher it a little bit. I don't even remember who it was by, but it's like, as you lose yourself in acts of service to others, we discover our own lives and our own happiness. Is that true for you too?
Oh, it is so true. In the midst of, and my mother was a person that just helped everyone. My dad was really a business person. He was just about money, making money. And, but for my mom, she was a helper. And if she could help someone, she did. So that instilled in myself. And it allowed me to rise and do things, and people trust you because you're not doing it because you're just looking for yourself.
Yeah.
Selfishness is not one of my best qualities at all.
Obviously, look at where you are today. You could not be a selfish person. But Dr. B, I want to take you back to not having children. You're this accomplished woman financially. And it seems like in all other aspects of your life as well, right? We live in a society where there is so much pressure on women that we have to have kids. This is the path that you need to take. Talk to me about how you overcame that, how you still deal with that, because I'm sure it probably comes up at times.
It comes up in topics.
Mhm.
Um, Again, I guess it depends on what your mindset is. My mother's always taught me be myself. Um, Children, my businesses, as my doctor used to say, I birth businesses. They never get old. Um, the idea of family is more extended. Um, I have godchildren. I love them all, you know, uh, and they're special. But that wasn't, the beauty of a godchild is you can send them back home. You can play with them, have fun with them, and then go back home. But that was just, that's where I don't feel like I've lost anything there because I didn't come to this world to do that. I came to this world to add some value, to make some changes in our community, and that's what I'm here for. And the children, well, it's basically everybody that comes around Yana. They got, Mama Yana. Sometimes I have to put Mama Yana to rest because she needs to rest and stop being just so got to hands on stuff. But I don't feel like the legacy. That's the only thing I think is that the legacy of being able to who's going to take over.
Yeah.
But I have witnessed, and that's one thing that Spirit also was able to show me. I have a tax office and a business, but the reality is that the man, Mr. Henderson, had 3 sons. They should be the ones that have taken over the business, but they had not an interest in it at all. So, you can have these elements of business or build and make a difference or make a mark, and it doesn't have to be where there's the blood connection because it's probably the blood connection anyway. You know what I mean? It's from a spiritual point of view. Um, I never forget Sweet Honey in the Rock was when I heard these words. I know they were before them, but it says, your children are not your children. They are the expression of God coming through you, but they do not belong to you. And I think that's one of the major factors that when I heard that, I said, that's so true. Because you can have someone like a Malcolm X, El Haj Malik Shabazz. I love to call him by his real name. And okay, he came through parents who were Garveyites, but look what he did, what he had to do. He had to come through somebody.
Yeah.
So I had to come through somebody. You know,
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Those, Really powerful words. I also want to dive a little bit deeper, right? You talk about walking in your purpose and your mission, and you recognize that at an earlier age, right? Today, Dr. B, how would you say that you have consistently impacted, inspired, and motivated others and guide the children that you're currently leading?
I think I would say by just being who I am and being and doing what I do and them seeing the possible. That came into my mind some years ago. It said, it's the possibles out here. There was a woman, Maggie Walker, and Maggie Walker is the first African American woman to own a bank in the United States. She gave us possible. You know, we have greatness. I talk about Maggie Walker because no one talks about her, but she is in the museum down in Washington. We have, people like Fannie Lou Hamer. We've got all these great women that brought possible. And so, therefore, it's not an impossible. It's all in. And my mother always said it so true is that if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you're also right. You can't. It's
The
up to
power of the
you.
mind. The power of the mind.
That's it. And, when I went to Egypt the first time I came back, and I tell everybody who is of the African diaspora, take yourself to Africa, but especially to Egypt. It was an awakening. I was at the time when I went, I was part of the Catholic religion. I was knee deep, and I came back with a new thought, a new understanding, because I saw things. I saw the 42 laws of Ma'at. I saw the Grand Lodge. I saw the powers of what civilization was all about. And so when I came back here, I talked to the pastor, the priest in the church, and I said, I got some issues here. One of the issues is that there there's over like 5,000 years before the Bible. And I said, mm. And all the stuff that I've seen, I don't quite understand. He says, this is really wonderful that you've got all this information and it's great. But if you think we're going to bring that to the sanctuary, you're out of luck. So I said, are we lying to people? He says, not lying. It's about not telling everything.
Mm.
And my mother was a devout Catholic. And when I came home to her and told her, not going back. And she said, what do you mean you're not going back? I said, not going back. Can't go there. She says, well, let me put it this way. You're going to have to fellowship somewhere. You go find it. So that's why I said as I went on my road to Damascus, I went looking all over the place. I had a namneo renge call him alhamdulillah, they
They
have,
said
have
it.
I, what is it, washed in the blood? I said, which one? Guinea fowl, lamb, what dove, I am a metaphysician, which is the first laws of the world is man know thyself and deal with the power and the glory that God is within you. Not no sky daddy, but in you.
Mhm.
And communicate within you. Don't have no man can tell you anything. It's you and God. And when I finally got there to that, it took a long time, but that's what I did. And I don't regret any of the things that I've ever done. Um, I just think it was one of those, how you get the step. When we were little, we took a step. Then we take another step. Then everybody goes, ooh, right. Then you take another step and then you start to laugh because you made the step. That's how I feel this life that I have experienced here is all about. It's my steps. And
Mm.
so to be able to influence others, I think is just that I keep stepping. You know, people check to see, are you still around? Yeah, I'm still around. I have had, and I can say it with confidence, I have had the blessing to be on this planet as of June 30th of this year for 65 years. I don't even understand what that is. You know, I remember when I was very young and we were talking about, Ma and I were talking about the turn of the century, the year 2000. I said, gee, I'm going to be like 42 years old. I won't be able to walk, talk. I'll be a mess. And my mother was like, my child. And, but I thought that was just so old. Well, I see 65 and it's just a number.
Age is just a number.
That's all it is.
It's your mentality. Age is actually your mentality, how you see yourself. So our guest Raina, who just said self-belief is of paramount importance. Thank you so much for that. That is just so, so, so true. And Dr. B, just sitting here listening to you, I could just shut up and just have you talk for the rest of the show because you are pouring so much into us tonight with your journey and just how you have been obedient. I think that's something that I want to stress here tonight. Being obedient to the universe and what it's telling us. Oftentimes, my mom always tell me this when I was a kid growing up. She's like, you just go off and you just do whatever you want to do. You don't listen to anybody. But I don't think she understood that I was a special person. And it takes a lot, especially as women of color, to like really stand up for what we believe in and what we feel in our hearts. So I want to ask you, and this is a weird question. If you could be an animal, what animal would it be and why? I don't know why that came up just now. It's just
That's a good question. An animal.
yeah.
I probably would be a hawk.
Mm,
And the reason being is because they fly so high and they go get their food, they take care of their young, they do what they're supposed to do, but they fly so high. And not only animals fear them, but people do too. So they don't get in their way, you know. So I probably would be a hawk.
I could see that. I don't remember the story, and Mama would kill me. But I remember growing up, and my mom always talked about a story about with being a chicken and being a hawk. I don't remember the story, but basically the bottom line is the chicken stays on Earth, the hawk flies and soars to new and higher and better heights.
Yeah, I think that's, the freedom.
Yeah.
And I probably wouldn't, because I'm not going to be like you, go up there and jump out a plane. Because I watch you. But I think about, I'm not afraid to get in the plane, and I like to be up and look at the clouds and breathe. You know, when things get rough, you breathe
Mm.
and you listen and be still. I had a group called Imani Center for Spiritual Growth, and I have a challenge that they have for the next 2 weeks. We're doing get up at sunrise and spend 10 minutes thinking of nothing.
Mm.
It's not easy.
That's a challenge for 10 minutes.
10 minutes. And so I had to tell them my little secret because I said, I'm one. Okay, I said 10 minutes. So that's not 9 minutes. That's not 8 minutes. That's not 11 minutes. It's 10 minutes. So I set my phone alarm so that I can be 10 minutes exactly. Because I'm always thinking I'll be concentrating on the time as opposed to the communication.
Just staying
Because
still.
metaphysics, when you meditate, that's when God talks to you. You pray, that's when you talk to God.
Yeah. For 10 minutes, you're just going to sit, not think about anything. Okay.
No.
I'll put that in the parking lot. I'll try to see if I could get on the parking lot. because my mind just wanders all over. But again, your mind is a powerful thing and you can control it. I'm going to try. I'm going
So
to try it.
okay,
I'm
yes.
going to try it.
And
I'm,
that's why I chose the sun rising, the energy of the sun, Ra. You know, when I went to Egypt and we went to the temple of Ramesses, but the powerful temple was of Nefertari. And in her temple, the god Neb, goddess Neb, is straddling the entire temple. And how powerful! I tell you, women could walk in there and just fly. Because when you walk in, you see her taking in the sun god, and then she births him at night. Well, in the morning, but she takes him in at night. And that's the power. That's woman. Nobody else can do it. Like Dr. Ben said, the most powerful individual and most holiest sight is to see a woman who is pregnant. Why? Because it's the only thing that's a life within a life.
exactly.
And only she can do that.
And women, and I'm so happy that you actually said that. I've said this 1,000 times and I'll keep saying it. If men would just appreciate and recognize how powerful we are, and in turn, if women would also appreciate the power that we have. I have another show and I've been talking about how women have devalued themselves. That's a whole different conversation. But seeing that we're here and for someone who's so renowned and you're an accomplished woman, what would you say, what message would you give to our young black women who are probably out there just struggling to figure out who they are?
The mission that they have is first starts with really the older women becoming and communicating more so with our young sisters because we're scared to talk to them. And I don't understand it, but we need to talk because when I was coming up, elder women spoke to me. As a matter of fact, I thought I had an opinion, and I never forget this one woman, Betty McLean, said to me, "How old are you?" I said, "Well, at that time I was in my 20s." She says, "Look, when you become 42 and an elder, you'll have a say so. But until then, listen." And I was like, "Okay, but I'm an adult. I'm over 21." And she's like, "You need to listen." And the first book she gave me was The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Sheen. And it said, and when she wrote in it, she said, "I want you to externalize this. And then at some point, you're going to internalize it.
Okay.
And that is the time that you know who you are." So my message is to my young sisters is to get around, stop trying to be something that you're not and emulating someone else's world. You're a queen. You're a princess, then you're a queen. When I see little girls, I call them a princess because I'm so happy to see them coming, you know. But it was on Facebook, and I think my brother Matt put it up, was a white man with a lot of tattoos sitting on the back of a black woman. And many people talked about the picture as being, how dare he or whatever. I didn't have no concern about him. It was her. I said, how could a queen allow that to happen? The only answer for it is she doesn't know that she's a queen. She doesn't know who she is.
Yeah.
So someone has to keep invoking that spirit in her and call her who she is. Not the B word, not the thought and all of that, but a queen, because a queen would never let anyone, and then top it a white male, but anyone sit on her back. No, and there was another piece about a young girl. She was a young white girl in some jeans that her whole butt was showing and everything. And it was a man who said it so well. He said, everything that God has created is precious, but it's hard to get to. A diamond. If you ever see what a real diamond look like, trying to get it through that coal and break it, it's hard to get to. You know, oil. You got to dig deep.
You gotta dig deep.
Gold. You got to break a lot to get to it.
Mm.
And so is the preciousness of a woman.
Mm.
But if she doesn't know it, she gives it away.
She doesn't
It
understand her
disturbs me
value.
when I see, like, I one time, I'm a little bit more daring than I am now, but a young lady, we were at a play, and she was standing there, but her skirt was just above possible. If she sneezed, she was going to show possible. So I looked at her, and she was at the garage, and she walked by me once, and I said, "Yana, mind your business." And she walked back by. I said, "Yana, mind your business." And then something said, "That is your business." So I stopped her and I said, "Can I share something with you?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "You're a precious, beautiful young lady. And you're just showing all your stuff. You don't leave anything questionable, and nobody wants to marry that. Nobody wants to hold on to that because everybody else has seen it and gotten it." I said, "Just think about it. You are a prized possession of yourself. So treat yourself like that." And she looked at me and then she said, "Hmm, that's thoughtful." I think she said to me more so, she says, "It was thoughtful that you cared enough to say something."
And I'm happy that you had that response. But when I think about social media and the power that social media have on queens, I am disheartened because of the messages that's out there. When I see how women, especially my sisters, going under the knife, transforming their bodies, a lot of our folks are dying because of what they're putting their bodies through. The low self esteem, low self worth, we could go on and on. Dr. B, what do you have to say about social media and the impact on our
Let's
young
blow it up.
people?
Let's just blow it. It was set out to distract us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when uh, Gore, Vice President Gore, wanted it released to us, he wanted to see what how we would work with it. And we didn't use it for the purposes I think that we could have. We could communicate with each other. We could make a difference in each other's lives. We could learn more about each other. But no, we show what we ate for the day. you know, um,
Frivolous stuff.
we show our bodies.
Yeah.
And what I think is that because of social media and also just the world in itself, there's no there's no barrier anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Used to be at a stage. I remember listening, and it dawned on me. Diana Ross had a song called "Love Child," child that was born out of wedlock. Okay, and back then it was not the norm. It was happening, but it was not the focus. Um, and it's not to be ashamed of anything. It's a life, but to value yourself, to put people in your life to help to work with you. It was not where a child had to be raised by themselves. It was the whole community was involved. And that's not happening now. We don't have community, we have chaos.
Yeah.
And to talk to our young women, I think that it's necessary. I have been invited in September, there's a Black Women's Retreat, and I'm looking forward to going and talking to them. I don't know what's going to happen because whatever God leads me to say, I'm going to come out my mouth. I am Burma Woodhouse's daughter, so stuff comes out the mouth, and you go, "Why did I say that?" But I think it's beautiful when women get together and not try to impress males or other women, but just be yourself, you
Yeah.
know. And I think that there's a lot of people in this world today that just want shock value.
Yeah.
It's like, how wild can I get? I had a gentleman come into my office who had been very much abused by the Black Lives Matters, the marching that was done. He got attacked by police, and so his attorney brought him to me, and I said, we don't understand the power of words, because he said, well, I'm queer. And I said, what does that mean? And so he says, I'm unusual. I said, okay, what does that mean?
Me.
I said, you said everything. Number one, I am, which is the power of God, is not unusual, not queer, not anything. It is. It just is. And I said, why would you pick queer? I said, why do what is it? He says, because it makes me feel good. And I was like, okay, all right, that you're allowed that. But I don't see queer. I
Mhm.
see a king. I see a wonderful king that has some strange ideas. He could be part of a jester group, but that's what I see. But if you see queer, okay, that's for you, you know. But nowadays, I don't know what we're going to do with this social media, because everything has gotten so out of hand. And I've had some, really, for the first time, I think, because Access Wealth Nation is doing well,
Awesome.
I think that I'm getting approached. And I just pray on it sometimes and ask folks, how should I respond to this? Because I don't want to send anybody to get hurt. But some of the stuff that they're sending is, I'm like, I'm not interested in seeing any of that. You
Yeah.
know, it's not my world. We've got too much to do.
Much more important work.
We're supposed to live and be joyous and relax and show the evidence of the Almighty. And instead, we're going into degradation. And how weird can we get? I never forget the first time when I did a Bible study with metaphysicians, and we did the story of Sodom and Gomorrah and Lot, and Lot offering his daughters instead of the angels. And I said, there's a whole lot of weirdness going on there. I don't understand what's going on. And I thought for a moment, and I said, well, how did they get out of it? Well, there was a flood. Okay, they had to get out of that. But what happens today? What's going to make the difference, the turnaround? When are we going to love ourselves and love each other instead of going to shoot? Who shoots and doesn't care that it hits a baby or a child? Or who goes and rapes an 80 some odd year old woman? What's going on? My mother wrote a poem, and I was looking to see if it was here. She says, Lord, make your world behave. Make your world behave. We do it too much bad. Make them behave. And that's what I feel. So I
Yes.
don't know, but I think that the powers that be, Almighty God, is going to make a difference. We're going to see a change.
I'm looking forward to that change, and I do
Me too.
believe.
I hope I see it. That's what I want. I believe I will, that I'll be here on this earth long enough to see the change take place, and then I'll be done.
So happy belated birthday to you. I saw your post about, your coworker, I guess, that gave you the flowers and the cupcake for you to blow that out, right? I want to just say your humility. Your humility gets to me all the time. You walk around just this ordinary lady with a beautiful smile, warming the world and everyone that you encounter. You're a beacon of light. So I have to ask you this question. Time is of the essence. There's so much I want to unpack with you. I think
Can
we
I
need
come
to talk
back?
to you. I was just about to say I need to have you back to dive into the other stuff. Because like this is my show. I like to get into the feelings, the stuff that people don't really talk about. Because there's so much to you, right? But in 2021, you were recognized in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The World Conference Mayors Award here with the Wall Street Pioneer Award. That's history, that's legacy, that's Black excellence, that's woman power. Talk to me about that in a few
That
words.
was the most, I don't know, I don't have a word for it. It is. Um, to be able to be recognized by my own people in a place where they had created businesses, 600 businesses. A dollar lasted in that community 3 to 5 years. We bought from ourselves. We created from, that's why they got bombed. It's, but to receive that,
Yeah.
to be acknowledged. And it didn't matter what everybody else had to say or whatever, or who, because at that time, Kamala Harris was supposed to come and get an award, Michelle Obama, and stuff happened. They didn't get there, but it's okay because I had no problems. My firm, Transamerica, they had sent people and they said, "Well, what's going on?" I said, "I don't know, but I know I'm here." And that place, on top of it, Queen Mother Blakely, bless her, she acknowledged me too. And by saying that we're going to get this reparations, and this is my banker. This is the person who's going to take care of the money. Oh man, that was such a beautiful, just, I there's no words for it. It was just a blessing, and to be touched by the greatness of those people,
Mm,
and to walk on those tracks on June 1st as the bell rang, that they ran those people out of their homes. But it's okay because those spirits are there. Those spirits are in me.
yeah. That's why you're such a warrior and you keep fighting. So now I'm going to put you in the hot seat with our quick questions before we go.
Uh-oh.
If don't worry, it's safe. It's a safe space.
Okay.
If you could meet your mom today, what would you say to her?
Thank you. Thank you for being you. I am who I am because she loved me.
Mm, powerful. And if you could connect with your 7-year-old self, what would you say to her?
Girl, tame it down a little bit. My 7-year-old self, I would love to have a conversation. She probably wouldn't listen, but to keep doing what you're doing. You trying everything, keep trying till you find what you really are happy at. But first and foremost, be happy.
Mm. If you had one wish, what would that be and why?
I honestly would have the wish that Soul City become the number one media in this worldwide, because there was Rupert Murdoch who said it, whoever owns the media owns the minds of the people. So
Mm.
yeah, I would give that wish to have Soul City grow to that level. Of course, the 7-year-old me, because of Aladdin, with the lamp. So I never understood why, if you had 3 wishes, that you didn't have the first wish, that I want unlimited wishes.
Mm. If you were the president of New York or president of the USA, what would be your first priority?
What would be my first what?
Your first priority. What would you prioritize once you? Your first 100 days, what would you want to
My
accomplish?
first 100 days is I'm going to put an even playing field out here for women and the racists, that we get equality and stop. And I would get rid of, okay, I know this will cause trouble. I would get rid of the lobbyists. I wouldn't let I'd cut them down, because the money and the greed is what's causing people to do all this stuff to each other. And I would mandate that we have a day every month of love.
Ooh, I love that.
Gotta love. If nobody yell, scream, holler. We did a poetry show. Well, it was a poetry event called Word Flow. And it was a dream that I had, and thank God to my brother Matt for making it happen. We took a poet on every corner of 125th Street, east to west, and they weren't allowed to do any negative poetry. They were only to give something positive. It changed the vibration of 125th Street. People stopped walking around with the ugly face and stuff and smiled. I had a dream that we could do that with the Great Pyramid, that we would put poets around the entire Great Pyramid and let them cipher, and it would make a difference in the world.
I have like goose pimples throughout this interview. I just want to say I am so grateful and thankful. The calmness that you brought to the show tonight and the richness of the history that you shared. You are such a force to reckon with, and you're a beacon of light. And we're going to have you back here for part two because there's so much I had in store that I really wanted to talk about because we talked about who you are, and we need to have a conversation about how we could orchestrate everything that you've discussed here tonight. So, Dr. B,
Definitely.
thank you
But
so
just as a
much.
note, if people want that book, all they have to do is reach out to Anaj Enterprises Inc. at Gmail, and I will give them a book because it's a foundation for finance. But I think this show was purposeful
It
for
was
me.
necessary.
It was also healing for me
Awesome.
to get this out. This is who Jana is.
Love it. Thank you. What's your final words for us before we leave tonight?
Final word is that love. Love yourself, love your world, love God, acknowledge the God in you, and salute that God every day. And even when you can't see it all the time, still salute.
Amen. Amen. And I'll close by saying, even when the wrong things happen, do the right thing. It was a pleasure. Thank you all to all our viewers who tune in tonight and to everyone who's going to watch later. I hope that you pull your books and your pens out and take notes. And I love this. He who writes the check is free. Have an amazing night. Thanks, everyone.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.